is his voice of the bus, Mark Johnson, and you're listening to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast. I'm here with Topher and Jake, and this is Sreyas, and we are reminiscing on the home opener on Friday, which didn't turn out the way that any of us really wanted, but we have a lot to talk about that happened during the game. Jake, how are you guys feeling? It's Labor Day.
Feeling good. Had a nice road trip to Kansas, Big 12 territory. But feeling good, except for this loss. I have simmered down since the loss. But yeah, feeling good. How are you doing, Topher?
I'm pretty frustrated, right? That game was ours for the taking. We should have won that game by multiple scores, and we didn't. And so we have a lot to get into, and I can't wait. I think
we're all going to have some good, passionate takes, which is good. They're well-deserved after that one.
Yeah. And so on that note, let's recap this game. So we started off this season playing against a tough ACC opponent. So for those of you who are listening that may not remember, this Georgia Tech team was vastly improved last year, and they gave Georgia Bulldogs all they could handle up to 8 overtimes last year, and absolutely ran roughshod over them for 260-plus rushing yards. So that is the team that we had to start the season off with. Big physical team that knows how to run the ball, and boy, did they. They certainly ran the ball. Topher, instant takeaways.
Throughout the game, there were just moments that I felt like we could have put it over the top. We could have, changed the momentum. I distinctly remember 2 times it was 4th and short, and we were about midfield, and we punted it both times. Great punts. I'll give credit to the specialists, but those were moments where I felt like we needed to be more aggressive. We needed to keep pushing it, and at that point, we had established a good run game, and we had shown that Micah is tough to take down. Right? He takes 1 or 2 hits, and he's able to go through. So, my instant takeaway is we got outcoached on Friday night, and it felt really disparaging to know how much talent we have, but to see the juxtaposed results on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I think the outcoach piece is, you hit the nail on the head, Topher. My takeaways were, let's not overreact. This is a very good Georgia Tech team. This is arguably a top 3 team in the ACC. Both Sreyas and I predicted this to be a loss, so I don't want this fan base to overreact. But it was frustrating because we had it in hand. 3 turnovers to 0. We can all be frustrated with that we only scored 7 points off that. We lost this game. So that's my biggest takeaway, is just we did not take advantage of Georgia Tech literally handing the ball to us. Like, we didn't force those fumbles, which is crazy. And yeah, we'll talk about the coaching. I have a lot of thoughts, but brief takeaway, that was mine.
Well, I'll also point out that DJ McKinney's interception was pretty good. So I agree that the fumbles were definitely kind of unforced errors on Georgia Tech's part, and we absolutely should have taken advantage. But let's just not ignore DJ McKinney's great play. And maybe that's even previewing what we'll talk about later, but we're all thinking DJ McKinney was going to have a big year coming into this year, and it's great to see him get off to that start with the interception. Now, that said, man, when you have that good a field position 3 consecutive times to start the game, and you come away with 7 points against an opponent like Georgia Tech, you'd better take advantage. Otherwise, you are in big, big, big trouble. And that really is how it panned out for us. I think you could feel it in the stadium after we didn't score on it. Like, after the second turnover, not cashing in there felt a little bit different. That was a kind of a strange drive where Caden Salter just absolutely launched one out of the back of the end zone on 3rd down when he could have potentially run for a 1st down. And sort of thinking, okay, he's just trying to make plays. He's trying to be aggressive. But then when we got shut down on the next turnover, that's where it's like, Georgia Tech is moving the ball. They seem to be really advancing the ball. Like, unfortunately, CU fans have seen triple option teams, although this isn't really a traditional triple option team anymore like they used to be. But it was very reminiscent of watching a service academy like Air Force against CU, except with bigger, tougher, stronger bodies. And then the momentum really started to leave us. And honestly, if we had pulled this out in the end, it would have been an absolute highway robbery. By the end of the game, we were outgained 463 to 305. And it felt that way watching for most of the game. Like, yeah, we're watching a really physical, really good rushing attack from Georgia Tech just bully us time after time. So the fact that we were in the game and really, I mean, it was tied late in the fourth quarter until that blown third down. Was it a third or fourth down play? I'm forgetting. Was it a fourth down play? It was just brutal watching Haynes King just absolutely torture defense and walk into the end zone untouched. So we had a chance to completely steal one. But now when you look at it, it could be a blessing in disguise that you lost that game rather than win it. And you're thinking, okay, that's as bad as we can play. And we still won. Now it's no, there's some tough questions to be seen ahead. Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the biggest thing is I thought we matched up well against them. And the only thing we couldn't stop is their run. And like our run, our D-line against the run and our linebackers, we can talk about here in a second. But I thought we matched up pretty well against them. So I think a lot of people are saying the sky is falling. I don't see that whatsoever.
I wouldn't say the sky is falling, but I think there's a lot left to be desired. You know, on rewatch, when you're in the stadium and it's harder to just like dissect plays and really see what's going on. On the rewatch, when you can really slow things down, it's very frustrating that it just felt like we weren't prepared. And I really need to see a lot better preparation. Because honestly, we didn't tackle that poorly. We only missed like 2 or 3 tackles the whole game, and they still had that many yards.
Crazy to think about.
So it's not a fundamentals
position.
issue. It is just a gap soundness issue. It's an understanding of an anticipation of what's coming. And from what I saw on Georgia Tech, they ran a lot of the same things they were running last year. So either we didn't do the proper film preparation or they weren't coached the right way to be sound, and that's worrying. That's red flags. And hopefully this next game is a way that we get a lot of guys and see what we can do as far as fundamentals and understanding what we need to do to play at a high level.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to beat them and harp on all the negatives, but I do think you guys would agree that there are quite a few positives we can take away from this game. And before we get into PFF grades, I think that that's going to naturally integrate itself in here because we definitely saw some positives, right? Come on, Jordan Seaton, what a great game he had. He's done a really, really good job basically continuing on from the season that he had last year and coming out against a team like Georgia Tech and playing the way that he did. I think he was around a 90 PFF grade, which is phenomenal. So we're looking at a potential top 10 pick, just like Dukes was telling us last time. So that's a big time positive. Jake, what other positives did you see?
Yeah, just add on to that. Our stars stepped up. DJ McKinney got that pick. Jordan Seaton played a great game. Guess we didn't see much from Marion Miller, and we'll talk about that later. But the positives, our O-line, this is a good O-line for the Big 12. I think I was very encouraged to see what the O-line did on Friday. And I don't think they gave up. Did they give up a sack? I didn't double check the stats, but maybe just one.
One in the red zone. It stalled our drive. We had to take 3 points instead of taking 7.
Yeah, they were like blitzing 6, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad sequence for our O-line there. But other than that, very good game.
If I remember right. But other than that, I thought the O-line played great. That was a very good positive. I'm just checking my notes. Another huge positive. Our run game looked really great, and that's also because of the O-line. But Michael Welch, what did he average? I think it was like 6 yards per carry and change.
Yeah, it's like 5.8. Yep.
Okay. Like Michael Welch, he got the job done. And I was nervous about our running back game just with the personnel in there. And I think that's a huge positive that we have Michael Welch plus, DeKalon Taylor, and then Simeon Price as well. Just some other things. The defense did good job of forcing turnovers. Yes, Georgia Tech, they were bad snaps. The field was wet. But our guys were able to jump on the ball, which was encouraging. as well as DJ McKinney's pick was awesome. I just want to make sure I get everything here. Another one really quick. Topher's going to love this, but our kickoff specialist, Buck Buchanan, is awesome.
We
He
were
can easily get in
both,
the back of the end zone. And
Topher and I were
huge
screaming every touchback.
Yeah.
People around us thought we were insane.
Yeah, it's huge positive. People overlook that. But, I mean, the Baylor game was close because our kickoff specialist wasn't good last year. Also, some positives. Salter can run the football. I think Salter has some good poise in the pocket. He can dodge those edge rushers, and I took that away as a positive. I'm honestly not super discouraged by Salter's play from this game. We can talk about it a little bit more when we get in the offense. As well as one more positive, we started off quick. That first drive was a thing of beauty. And then after that, we just stalled. So those were kind of the positives I identified. Topher, did you have anything else?
Other positives I think I want to add on is the use of tight ends. Like we actually were bringing in tight ends, and I think that's pretty encouraging. And we had some show of Zach Atkins being a true receiver. I think he shows the potential if we can really integrate him into schemes that he could take over a game. I think he struggled a little bit in the blocking scheme, but I really like seeing that aspect of our offense. We also had a lot more motions and shifts, which is a big deal. And I really liked the way that that was utilized. I think that will help Caden identify coverages a lot more easily. As he gets more comfort in this offense, I see things that we can build off of for sure. And I really am encouraged by that aspect.
Yeah. We've already talked about the offensive line, but I want to call out Zy Chrysler directly. So as we've talked about ad nauseum offline here, CU guard play has been disastrous for as long as we can remember, honestly. Earlier today, I saw one of our other former Folsom Frenzy execs from back in the day, and we were talking about it. Like, when was the last time that CU had a guard that scored over 80 in PFF grades against a Power 5 or Power 4 competition? We honestly couldn't remember. We were speculating it might be Timmy Lynott back in 2016, but we're talking about almost a decade ago. And it's been rough. I mean, we have cycled through so many guards, and just the last couple of years in particular with Coach Prime and some of the guys that he brought in from the group of 5 level, it's been rough. But we found someone in Zy Chrysler. And I honestly think that in and of itself could be transformative to how our running game performs. Just having one interior guard that is winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. And so I'm really excited to see him progress this year. That was a very, very promising moment, I think. So speaking of PFF grades, does anyone have those up? I believe that another surprise in the top 5 was Caden Salter himself. And it's a surprise because leaving the stadium on Friday, everyone was beating up on Caden Salter. Both people who were watching the game in person, and then afterwards getting back to the car and hearing talk radio talk about it, and then seeing people talk about it on social media afterwards, everyone was beating up on Caden Salter. Oh, he's not going downfield enough. Oh, actually, he should be running instead of going downfield. It's almost like we saw bits and pieces of all his skill set. Immensely strong arm, right? We saw that in action, and great runner. But then we just didn't see that level of consistency that we maybe started to take for granted with Shedeur. Like, missed a couple short throws. Were those really just missed throws, or were those bad routes? Like that, it's hard to see in retrospect. But he actually did score pretty well in the PFF grades. Topher, what was your thoughts on Mr. Salter?
Really quick, Topher, before you go, just to list off the PFF grades for us, Sreyas. Caden Salter got a 79. Quentin Gibson got a 77.9. Zach Atkins got a 73. DeKaylon Taylor got a 73. Hakeem Williams got a 68. Omarion Miller, 66. Micah, 66. Simeon, 62. So those are just the top players on offense, at least. So go ahead. Go ahead, Topher.
I think you raised a great point. We saw moments and flashes, like his arm cannot be questioned. His arm talent cannot be questioned. He has a cannon attached to his right shoulder. But there were moments where there was a little bit of questionable decision making. But on the rewatch, it looked like there was not a lot of separation being created by our wide receivers, which was a little bit surprising. And there were times where, he would try to make the next read and it wouldn't come open and he just kind of ran out of room. I think when the game slows down for him this weekend, you'll see a much better and more calmed down version of himself. I also think we need to have more plays that attack more of the middle of the field. It felt like we were attacking the boundaries so much, so many screen passes, so many quick, little out routes. There was flood concepts, and it just felt like we were lacking in middle of the field attacks. And so I hope we see more of that moving forward.
Yeah, Jake, thoughts?
Yeah, just on the offensive side. Yeah, I guess I'll start with Caden. Look, I think Caden Salter can sling it, especially when he's in the pocket and has his feet set. When he's running, he was very inaccurate. At least today he was. Looking at his film, he wasn't as accurate as he was versus Georgia Tech. But I think when they played Georgia Tech, I think he wanted to prove that he could throw the football well. Because there were some times where he threw the ball, and I'm like, dude, you can run it easily. Like that touchdown pass. Like you can easily run in the end zone. Actually, rewatching it, it wasn't as open as I thought it was. So the throw turned out to be a great decision. But look, Caden Salter is a senior quarterback. He's a proven quarterback. Went off his sophomore year, had over 1,000 rushing, a ton of passing yards as well. And this offense needs to revolve around him. This needs to be the Caden Salter offense. No one else. This isn't about Omarion Miller. This isn't about Michael Welch. We need to design this offense around our quarterback. And that's exactly what Georgia Tech does. If we had the same offensive coordinator as Georgia Tech, we would have won that football game. I think this is where I go on my soapbox. Sorry, guys. Pat Shurmur, he's a problem. I was never a fan. I wish Chase was here because good luck, Chase, defending him. He is not a good OC. Bring in Byron Leftwich. So I was trying to think about it because I listened to a ton of podcasts, CU podcasts about this game, and all over Twitter, people have their opinions on this offense, and I've seen opinions from feed Welch more, have Caden rush more. We got to feed our wide receivers more. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Fact of the matter is, they had a ton of 3-and-outs. They didn't have a chance to do all these things. So I'm kind of racking my brain, looking back at the film. Okay, what do we not need to do? Because I agree, we need to do all those things, but we need to take out what was bad. And Topher, you mentioned it. The east to west play calling, the screens drive me nuts. I hate screens. Get rid of them. They do work occasionally. There was one to Quentin Gibson that worked, but with Travis Hunter,
pass in the game
worked a lot better. Get rid of screens. Brian Lindgren loves screens. Darren Chiaverini loves screens. They didn't work. I'm done with screens. So that needs to stop. When you have 5 minutes left on the clock, and I'm kind of getting to the end of the game here, and you throw a freaking screen, stop.
I think that made everyone rip their hair out. That specific play call was horrible.
Hot take. We need to stop throwing the ball to Kaylon Taylor as much. He had the most receptions that game, I believe, and that's way too much. I do agree. We need to target Omarion more. We need to target Draylon more. Draylon had a bad drop, though, that game. Like, we need to get all of our wide receivers involved, man. We got so much firepower there. And it was funny because I was yelling to our group meet, we need to run the ball more. We need to pass the ball more. And Chase was like, what do you want? Like, last year you wanted to run. All I want is a balanced offense and situational football. There was times we were on the 50-yard line and it was 3rd and 2 and we're throwing the football. No, that is 4-down territory. You run the ball, you get 1 yard, you get another yard the next play. Now they tried that with the quarterback sneak. And what do? They do another quarterback sneak when it didn't work. And they got bailed out because Caden rolled over the defender.
Forward.
And it's like,
tackled forward.
This offense, this play calling is insane. Topher texted us a video of with FSU. Was it FSU, Topher?
Yeah, Florida State.
Oh, we just lost Jake again.
Florida State. Okay, so the video that I texted was Florida State, and it showed how they set plays up for each other, right? So they had a jet motion, and then they ran a counter. And then they ran a jet motion. They had the same exact guard and tackle pull, except this time the quarterback kept it. And then they ran the same jet motion, and then they ran the double power, and it just kept setting up the offense. They would just, manipulate the eyes of the linebackers, which is exactly what happened to our linebackers, for the record, right? Georgia Tech did the exact same thing that Florida State did to Alabama, which is they run the similar looks over and over and over again. They were very disciplined with their fakes. And the moment the offensive coordinator caught those linebackers cheating, they go, great, this next play we're going to score. Watch this. And then they ran a reverse. They ran everything to the right, and then they ran a reverse. And because everything was flowing that way, and they just trained the defense's eyes to watch the same thing, they had no idea where the ball was going.
It's just like, I think our play call, like the strategy to this game was give the ball to Michael Welch, and we'll throw in occasional pass plays. There was no creativity. I'll give Pat Shurmur this. He had more motions. He had a couple good counter runs, which we didn't see that last year. We didn't see Lyman pulling. So there was a little bit of mixing it up, but no play action. You have a running quarterback. You're not calling play action pass. Are we insane? There's not a lot of designed option runs for Caden. There was a few, right? And I think he handed the ball off to Micah a little bit too often that I couldn't even tell if it was an option or a design run. There's like little RPO, run pass option plays. It's just like we're not designing this offense around a running quarterback. Put in Juju Lewis. If you want to keep a Shador offense with running the football more, that is a pro style offense. Put in Juju, right? We need to use Caden Salter. That is his strength. This offense needs to run through him. He's a senior quarterback. Wake up. Give me the play.
Now,
I'm ready.
Now, here's a positive that's also a negative. So I think we all agree the play calling needs to change. And based on Pat Shurmur's track record, it's not going to come from him, right? But we put a lot of bad film on tape in a kind of meaningless game. Let's be honest. Conference games are the only thing that matter now.
Yeah.
You could literally go 0-3 in non-conference, and it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. You still win your conference games. You can do whatever you want. Like the conference games, these non-conference games are actually excellent. It's a great test. It's a great opportunity. I'm really glad. I mean, we scheduled this game a decade in advance, but nevertheless, like it was a great time to play this Georgia Tech team to kind of get punched in the mouth and wake up, kind of like what happened last year. Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough beef on our offense, either of our trenches to really recover and compete against the physical teams that we ended up playing last year. But we put a lot of bad tape out there, and the game doesn't matter in the end. So as long as by the time we actually start playing conference games, and that starts week 3 at Houston, and that is going to be a really tough matchup because that Houston team, their offense was unsightly last year, but their defense was really good. Willie Fritz is a really good coach. He had a lot of success at Tulane. Tulane. So with where we're at, as long as we're ready to go week 3, I'm okay with it. But I totally agree. Like what we were seeing was really, really scary. I really hope that this is not what we get the rest of the season. And even if it continues on for a few more games, Coach Prime, please, like it's your moment, Coach. Like I get that it's kind of like a tough position to be in, like with Sean Lewis a couple of years ago. He had to demote Sean Lewis. Sean Lewis, people forget, Sean Lewis, his offense struggled really bad after the first couple of games. People saw that TCU game that the whole world was watching and said, Sean Lewis offense is great. And the Sean Lewis offense fell apart. And that's why Pat Shurmur got the job to begin with. But if we get into that position again, man, it's time to make changes. Like we need to save ourselves, spare ourselves more misery.
Yeah, this isn't a hot take, but I want to call it now. Pat Shurmur will not be the OC at the end of this season. It's going to be Byron Leftwich, who I want, or Brett Bartolone, I think. There's my take. It's not very hot, but I just want to get it out there.
Yeah. So I think we've beaten a lot of negatives to death, but there's probably still more, right, Topher? I want to hear more about the front seven. You went back and looked at some of that tape.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So our defense was lost, just lost. Right. Like we'll get into the Q Wealth Management Player of the Game, and I just want to tell you right now, it is not what was it? What's his name? Martavius French. it is not Martavius French, because he lucked into 2 fumble recoveries, had a couple tackles for a loss, but other than that, terrible run fits, not very good with his eyes. And it wasn't just him, right? I don't want to just single him out, but that I want to say he got 2 fumble recoveries, but that's why he's not the QL man who played the game, is because it seemed like all of our linebackers and all of our defensive ends were not disciplined with their eyes. They weren't cross-keying. They weren't filling their lanes right. They weren't coming downhill and fitting right. And so on that Haynes Keene touchdown, that was really the dagger, right? We just had terrible run fits. He just had a gap, right? Like any good ball carrier is going to look through that and go, oh, there's grass. I'm just going to run there. And if we don't fix that, it's going to be a problem. The other thing that I saw is there's no real leader on the defense, and I think that made a really big deal. That was a really big deal, right? We talked to Dukes a couple weeks ago, and he said, who's going to be the guy on defense with the green dot that's getting him in play? And so I want to juxtapose this, right? There was a 4th and 1, I think, that Georgia Tech had, and then they motioned into a spread, and Haynes Keene walked up to the line and just snapped it and went, right? It was 5-on-4. We only had 4 D linemen down there. Our 2 linebackers were looking to the sideline like, what do we do? And there was no chance for us to stop that. Versus when we ran a QB sneak, 4 D linemen pinched down to the A and B gaps. So they had 4 D linemen in the A and B gaps, and they had their linebackers come down, and they had their safety coming full head of steam down as he snapped the balls to give them the best possible chance to stop a QB sneak. That is the difference in coaching. That's the difference in experience. It just, so when you watch those things on film, it is glaring how underprepared we felt on both sides of the ball. The only side of the ball that I felt we were really prepared on is special teams. Special teams were special. So shout out to those guys.
Hey, this is why you schedule these games in non-conference. Like, I brought it up already, but those service academies they wreak havoc in non-conference games. Do you remember a few years ago when Army almost beat Oklahoma, and back when Oklahoma was still like a playoff contender? It's just, you have to be so disciplined, because this isn't a true. So Georgia Tech no longer runs like a true triple option like they used to. They legitimately used to actually run a real triple option, but nevertheless, like, it felt like a triple option. It felt like they could give it to Jamal Haynes. Haynes King can run. And they had who else did they have running? They also had Malachi Hosley, who had a pretty big game himself with seven rushes for 47 yards. So, man, like, it's gonna this type of matchup is gonna expose this type of thing. And while it's really unfortunate that that's what happened, again, the takeaway is, like, putting some bad film out there. Now just go fix it and go shock everyone else that you're playing. Like, this isn't really us.
Yeah, just to add one more thing on the defense, I'm glad you guys are talking about it, because I feel like people are not talking about the defense enough. They were a failure, right? When you give up over 150 rushing yards to the quarterback, over 300 rushing yards to the other team, you're not going to win. And I think one of the biggest issues too is they were trying to contain the edges, and the box just was wide open for them to run right through, right up the middle. And I don't know, Topher, I didn't get a chance to review the film. But it was out kind of what you saw, like, we weren't loading the box at all. I thought the safeties were staying too far back too. Like, the whole stadium knew they were going to run the football. Let's bring the safeties up a little bit, as well as pinch a ton of linebackers up the middle. Was there anything you saw, Topher, when you were looking at film?
I mean, there's definitely adjustment. We went to a lot of cover 3. So we switched to a lot of 1 safety looks and tried to bring in 8 guys. It was just our defensive ends were giving up their outside shoulder leverage, right? And so some of it was coached. They were like, oh, if the tackle is pulling, I have to squeeze, right? And so they'd squeeze, and Haynes would go, dumbass, I'm just going to pull it and take you outside because you gave me your outside shoulder. So I felt like it was more of, not that we weren't loading the box, we were just so undisciplined with how we were fitting, right? Like, if you were I don't think Haynes King is a fast enough guy to really beat us to the edge if we were forcing him to the edge, but we weren't forcing him to the edge. We just gave it up, right? So if we were to force him to the edge, what the defensive end would do is squeeze. The linebacker would come into that gap and force him to the outside and make him bounce it out. Then we'd be having opportunities for tackles for loss on the outside, because that's the way we drew it up. But we just were very poor in execution for that. Coverage-wise, like, we did okay. I mean, Haynes King went 13 for 20. A lot of it was just, short stuff, easy stuff that he just kind of came wide open. I saw some good things in coverage, but I don't think that Haynes King as a thrower was really a threat to us ever. And it's just so disappointing.
I think it was in the fourth quarter. He had a absolutely wide open receiver on a third and medium, and just completely missed. Super badly underthrew the receiver. And after that,
Folsom Field forced that stop.
We did.
Folsom Field forced that stop.
It was
false
crazy
starts. You're
there.
welcome. See you.
Yeah,
it was crazy. It was crazy in there. But to go back to the point though. I think all of us were looking at that play and said, make him throw the ball. There you go. That's your proof. Make him throw the ball. Make him throw the ball. Stack the box. And, of course, when it did happen, it was a little too late. And we still had that. Man, the touchdown, that touchdown run still hurts. I can't believe how easy and effortless it was. Just, what was it? How far was that touchdown run? 45 yards.
One at the very end for Georgia Tech. Yeah.
45-yard touchdown. Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't stand that, man.
Really quick on our pass defense, I'm a bit worried about that other corner position. It seems like they were, moving in Tion Parks, R.J. Johnson, Tyrekus Davis, I think, got some time there too. I'm worried about it. I did not walk away from that game more comfortable.
Who had that holding that extended that drive? Because there was a touchdown drive or a field goal drive. Was it Tion Parks? Or I can't remember who it was, but there's a DB that
number 5. It was number 5. I don't remember.
I got R.J. Johnson. Yeah.
R.J. Johnson.
Yep.
Man, that hurt.
That
really hurt.
Shaking your head though. Did you like what you saw out of the secondary mostly?
No, okay. Safeties were questionable, but again, it was all run fits. I don't think we played so much zone, and because we switched that cover 3 and it was very obvious cover 3, it was easy to pick the soft spots of the zone. And so I don't think these guys were really challenged. We played some man, but until we get into some dynamic receivers, I'll reserve the judgment. I think there's a little bit of first game kind of jitters. You got to just get it out and you just got to get your feet under you. But until we play some actual dynamic receivers, which might be Houston, I'll have to take a look at the film. Delaware's receivers don't scare me at all, so I don't expect us to. I don't think I'll be able to make a judgment after next week's game either.
Yeah, this is a slight aside, but Ben Fennesath starting was interesting. I don't think he stayed in there though for much longer after that.
He had a couple of plays. There was a huge rotation. Everybody, towards the end, we were just kind of just throwing things at the wall to see what would stick.
Not a great sign, but good for him. He's obviously a Coach Prime favorite, and you always love seeing guys like that getting their opportunity. And he didn't play poorly at all, but it does make you wonder what our depth situation is. Is Ben still a walk-on, or did he get a skull?
Yeah, he was a walk-on. No offers anywhere.
Yeah, well, he's in the game now.
I'm maybe this guy was a good recruit. I don't know.
Yeah. Before we get to the thing that I think a lot of national attention was paid to, and a lot of CU fans were particularly mad about, I do want to mention, and Topher can go into this a lot more, that our special teams actually had a very good game, which was kind of a sight to behold. Topher, I just want to hear you rant about this before I say anything else.
It's like Christmas, all right? Damon Greaves. I might buy a Damon Greaves jersey. I'm that sold on him. His punts make me feel some type of way. That's okay. Oh my good, and they're just pure. And the moment left his foot, Sreyas will attest. Every time I hit his foot, and I go, God, great punt! Holy moly, great punt! And we're landing them inside the 10 with precision, with that backspin. So, Damon Greaves, huge shout out. Big leg buck, right? The first one was a little short, right? Didn't hit that one well. Even though he didn't hit it well, it was still a touchback. 6 for 6 touchbacks.
Oh, Oh,
And then there was a couple at the end where he pured it, and those were going 3 to 4 yards out of the back of the end zone, right? So that gives me some security knowing he can do this at altitude. He'll be able to do this at sea level too. So that gives me a lot of confidence in being like, after we score, there won't be a huge momentum shift like we give up a touchdown right away, right? Don't get PTSD to Baylor. So
the Baylor game is. I mean, the Baylor game was on my mind the whole day because the weather is very similar to that. Especially towards the end, it was just like rainy and gloomy. And then Caden's at midfield and hucks one downfield and it gets tipped around. Oh my God, I had like flashbacks to that moment. I thought for just a split second that ball was going to deflect up and one of our receivers was going to catch it. But the thing that was most traumatizing about that game was how bad our special teams were and how that almost cost us the game. Like that singularly, along with not being able to stop Sawyer Robertson, which kind of worked out pretty similarly this time with Haynes King, almost cost us that game. And that could have completely derailed that last season. Like I can't imagine how the rest of that season would have panned out if we blew that one. So that I think is going at some point this year is going to lead to a win that could have been a loss. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. But now let's talk about clock management. Everyone's favorite topic because of, first of all, if you've been around Colorado and watched any Broncos games, we saw all of Sean Payton's predecessors do this. Just absolutely not know when and how and where to use timeouts down the stretch. Coach Prime, he's seemed to have at least some decisions that I think everyone's called questionable in the past. I would say this was not questionable. It was very clearly a misuse of timeouts or lack thereof. Man, you have the ball with a minute left. First of all, call a bubble screen. Oh, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? 75 yards to go? You call a bubble screen, first down, get tackled inbounds, then don't call a timeout. Let another 15, 20 seconds run down by the time you even get the next play up. And I get the reason why we saved this for where we did in the pod is this singularly did not prevent us from winning the game, right? It prevented us from stealing an absolute highway robbery of a win, right? We could have, though, right? But we didn't have the opportunity to, because we simply ran out of time and ended the game with 2 timeouts in our hip pocket and a ball at midfield just to huck it down and try to have another Shedeur moment, even though Shedeur had 2 in that Baylor game back to back. All right, guys. Jake, I want to hear your side of this. I know Topher and I were complaining about this quite a bit on the way out of the stadium.
Yeah, so even to back up before that, we get the ball with 5 minutes to go-ish. And we decide then we're going to throw the ball. Even though Michael Welch has gone off, we're going to throw the football. That should have been the game. We get the ball with 5 minutes left, take the whole time, the whole clock, kick a field goal, you win. I have to start with that. That's the mismanagement start. And then, yes, the screen, I tweeted in all caps, like, why are we doing an effing screen? This is ridiculous. And then you don't call a timeout. And for Caden Salter to run out of bounds 20 yards across the field, I'm being dramatic, but to run it completely west, dude, you're a senior. Know that you slide, the clock stops. You can spike the ball after that. Like there are so many options. You can snap the ball, you can call a timeout. Just that was on Salter. And then I just didn't like Salter going for the Hail Mary throw with about 20 seconds left. It's like, no, get 20 yards. And then set up the next play. Like we need to be a little bit smarter with the clock. But we just got to call a spade a spade. Coach Prime is not good at clock management. One of our guys in our group me texted our group me when we had all of our timeouts. And he was like, oh, we still have all of our timeouts going to the fourth quarter. That's a first, which is true.
And we didn't use them. Then we didn't use them.
And then we didn't use them. So I love Coach Prime, but he is not good at clock management. We got to call a spade a spade. And I was frustrated to see that he didn't really realize that in the post-game press conference. He didn't really take ownership for it. And Coach Prime will take ownership for things. I think people have said, I don't like that Coach Prime doesn't take ownership for things. He does. he even took ownership for like the offense being stalled. He's like, that's on me. We'll change it. We'll get it right. But the clock management, I don't think he noticed it at the end of the game that it was just poorly mismanaged. I'm hoping someone on that staff is going to Coach Prime and be like, hey, like, we got to fix this. I hope someone does that. I'm nervous that no one has the cojones to, because it's Coach Prime. He's the best defender of all time. But this has to stop because it's costing us football games. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think there's much more to add there. It was just awful.
Putting more bad tape out there. All right. Once we get to Big 12 play, all of this is going to go away. Everything's going to be perfect. Just wait. We're just making everyone think that we suck.
How many seconds do you think we wasted on that last drive?
It was like 1:10 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, 70 seconds.
I wrote this down for this exact reason. We get the ball back with a minute and 7 seconds left, 2 timeouts, right? They kick a touchback. We start at the 25. Okay. We get a swing pass out to the left, tackled behind the line of scrimmage, loss of 2, no timeout. That was at 1 minute and 2 seconds. He was tackled at 1 minute and 2 seconds. We didn't get the next snap off until 46 seconds left on the clock. 16 seconds gone. Okay.
With 2 timeouts. 2.
Right. So we snap the ball. We get a short completion inbounds short of the first down. Still no timeout. He gets tackled at 41 seconds. We don't snap the ball until 29 seconds. Another 12 seconds gone. Okay?
So really quick, we're at 29 seconds versus how many seconds do you think we could be at if we use 2 timeouts?
Right. So
like a minute.
Let's play the hypothetical. We take the immediate timeout after the swing pass. It's 1 minute and 2 seconds. Right. We snap the ball. We play smart now. We run a quick out route. We're probably at 56 seconds now. Probably now 3rd and short. We run quick hitches. We get the first down. We're able to stop the clock. So now we're at 51, maybe 50 seconds. I'll even give you 49, right? We're at 49 seconds. That took like 7 seconds to get down. The clock is stopped while the chains are moving. We can snap the ball and clock it if we want. But no, we were thinking ahead. We ran this situation in practice like a smart program, okay? So we know we're going to get onto the line, run trips left, quick hitches again, and then if we are tackled inbounds, we'll take a quick timeout. No problem, right? We take a quick timeout. Now we're at 45 seconds. We're probably close to like midfield. We can now work the sidelines. We can get upfield. We can talk about it. Hey, we need to clock the ball now. Okay, we're out of timeouts. We have to get out of bounds. We have to clock the ball. We just play that so much better. But instead, we're at 29 seconds after 12 seconds wasted. He scrambles. This is the one where he scrambles, and the 20-yard scramble is not an exaggeration. Okay, right? Like the field is 53 yards wide. He started close to that right hash, ran all around, ran backwards, and then ran out of bounds. Okay? So now he ran out of bounds at 18 seconds.
He ran backwards. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right? 18 seconds. We started this drive with 1 minute and 7 seconds. It is now 18 seconds. We've only snapped the ball 4 times. Saying that Coach Prime is poor at poor at clock management is a horrific understatement. He is terrible at clock management. And I say this every single time. If he literally just plays college football,
Madden, yeah,
he'll get better at it. Because you have to be good at clock management in college football in the video game to like be good in online play. It's like, okay, well, you're driving. I think I can make it stop. I'll burn my timeout so I can get an extra position. Things like that, right? Like it is just so unbelievably frustrating. Then we take the deep shot after 18 seconds. That deep shot takes 10 seconds off the clock. So to Jake's point, again, not a great place to take the shot. We take a short pass to the middle of the field to get to 3 seconds. We get out of bounds. We still have 2 timeouts left with 3 seconds left to go. And then we take a final shot to Draylon. So unbelievable mismanagement of that last drive. But the fact that this is a pattern, like this is 2 years now where we have multiple instances of having, what are we doing taking timeouts here and what are we doing not taking timeouts here, is so frustrating as a fan, right? Because it's like That is the one thing that like all fans like we do at home, right? Like we see it on it. Time. Like we're the couch coaches there, and it's like the one thing we can do.
I have some good news for you though. We get 5 timeouts against Delaware now. That's how that works, clearly.
God bless. What are we gonna do with the wealth of timeouts that we have?
Really quick, one thing I noticed, that first deep ball, that was to Draylon, right? And it was like out of reach slightly.
Correct.
If I remember right.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
It was a pretty good ball. I kind of thought that Draylon quit on it a little bit. Maybe I need to watch it again, but when I was watching it live, it looked like he slowed down a little bit at the very end. That was in your guys' end zone too, right?
Yeah, it didn't look like he slowed down. It was, I mean, he put it where he needed
It
to.
wasn't a bad ball. It was slightly long. But
Yeah. No, he put it where he needed to. I think he just didn't have enough steam to get there.
Okay, yeah.
Unless Draylon has the extra gear. If he did, then, oh, man, that would have been epic. All-timer. Been almost LeJontay Wester last year territory, you know. Yeah. But not to say we've beat this to death, but at the same time, this has been like a big talking point in Buffs Nation, and so I think we needed to all get this one out. But on a positive note, and I'll let Topher do the ad read here, I think it's time for our Q Wealth Management Players of the Game.
Q Wealth Management. If you have questions about retirement, or you just want to talk college football and finances, go to qwealthmanagement.com. Book a meeting with me.
All right. So on offense, we had Micah Welch. I think this was certainly a positive out of this game, seeing our offense actually generate positive yardage on the ground after being a dead last in FBS back-to-back years in rushing yards per game, which is absurd to think about. Like, for it to happen once is crazy, but twice is brutal. But we managed 146 rushing yards against, by all accounts, a very, very tough defense. And while obviously credit goes to the offensive line as well, it's great to see our young running back, sophomore, have a great game like Michael Welch did. Any other thoughts, guys? It was just a good performance there. And also shout out to Simeon Price. He actually had a pretty decent game himself. We'll look out for him in the future. And then on defense, we gave our defensive player of the game to DJ McKinney, who all of us had predicted having a big, big year this year and being that lockdown corner, just shutting off one side of the field. And albeit Georgia Tech is obviously not, certainly in this game, planning to throw much, but he had a great interception and not a whole lot else. Did you see were any of his receivers even being targeted?
He was pretty sticky to him. He had a couple of tackles where he was running all the way across the formation to get tackles on a couple yards downfield. So he had great effort too. And I think he displayed the most leadership, which is what you'd expect from someone that has the experience that he does on that defense, especially helping out that secondary and demonstrating by example where the excellence needs to be.
Absolutely. And then for special teams, I think based on some of our discussion earlier, this was actually kind of a tough pick. Obviously, we're all very happy to see our punter have some really good punts, great hang time. And then Alejandro Mata, fan favorite, point to the hat, Topher. He ended up having a very good game. He did almost have a extra point block, but he still got it through. So he had a perfect game kicking, which was great. But because he brought that consistent touchback to the equation, we gave our Q Wealth Management Special Teams Award to Buck Buchanan. And I think, like I said earlier, I do think that this is going to win us a game later this year that we might have blown simply because we were allowing kick returners to bring it back and then torch us. So shout out to Buck Buchanan.
Big leg Buck.
Yep. And so with that, let's talk Delaware to some extent. Have you guys watched any tape, Jake? You probably haven't had much time to look at much tape there. Topher, I know we were just looking at this while we were waiting for Jake to come on today. Any thoughts on Delaware? They're now an FBS program. This is no longer an FCS matchup, but it is their first year. So it could be a transitional type season for them.
I would expect it to be a transition. I expect there to be a lot of growing pains for them. They played Delaware State, and it was, I think, a relatively close game, if I remember off the top of my head. From the little bit of the game that I have watched, I can see that their quarterback is one that's willing to pull the ball and run, which scares me a little bit. But I'm not scared of their wide receivers, right? Like, I feel like our DBs should be able to handle them pretty soundly, and we'll make them pretty one-dimensional. What's scary is that one dimension absolutely torched us last week. I don't think Delaware's run game is as complex. It's not as refined. It's not their O-line is definitely not nearly the O-line that Georgia Tech is. So I need to see improvement on those fronts, and I really see the bus rolling over on this one if the defense can come out and perform better than they did last Friday.
Yeah, the other thing that I think both of us noticed just quickly watching some highlights. So obviously not every snap, but some highlights of the game against Delaware State is it seemed like Delaware State was getting a lot in the running game. So even though Delaware State is an FCS program still, Delaware really struggled containing them, and they gave up a lot, around 200-something yards. Actually, it was exactly 200 yards rushing and a touchdown. So it remains to be seen whether we can still have a game like that. But with the way that our interior offensive linemen performed against a really stout Georgia Tech team, I would expect to have a very big day for we didn't see Dallin Hayden, by the way, who was injured, but a very big game from Micah and potentially Simeon, and hopefully Dallin comes back sooner than later. I don't think he's going to be back in time for this one, though. So definitely looking forward to that running game against Delaware.
Yeah. Delaware has a decent running back crew with Nick Michiuni and Joe Silver. Joe Silver's a senior and Nick is a junior. Had decent stats for the first game, about 5 yards per carry between the two of them. So I'm curious to see how this run defense does after getting completely obliterated from Georgia Tech. If this Delaware team can establish the run, I'm going to be worried. This defense better shut down this run, especially because we're way larger than them, more athletic than them. Also, I need to be more specific with my predictions because I had a good feeling this offense would be slow. Shout out to Sreyas and I. We were pretty spot on with our Georgia Tech predictions. Sreyas literally said they're going to get to the 50 and stall out on the last drive to win the game. And I think 3 points each side. So we know ball.
Unbelievable call there.
I knew I had a very good hunch that after game one, people would be calling for Caden Salter's head because Georgia Tech's a good team. And I thought he'd start off slow because he starts off slow in every game, last year at least. So here's my specific prediction for this upcoming game with Delaware. I think Juju Lewis is going to go off. He's going to get a lot of playing time. He's going to score 3 touchdowns, and people are going to be like, put in Juju. Juju needs to start over Caden, which I am not on that train right now. Caden is the senior quarterback. You guys are watching 2 hours of football versus the coaching staff who have seen fall camp, spring camp, all summer. I guess summer is more workouts, but they've seen way more on these two quarterbacks than any of the fans have. So be patient with Caden. He's no Shedeur Sanders, right? He's not going to be Shedeur. But we got to trust the coaching staff. I love Juju. I think he's going to be a stud in our future. But I think during this Delaware game, I think Juju's going to get a lot of time. I think our running backs are going to look great. I think our wide receivers are going to look great because Pat Schwimmer can get by with his bad play calling against a bad team against Delaware. We'll see if he changes it up. But I wanted to just call that out. I think Juju's going to go off, and people are going to be like, let's play Juju Lewis, which I'm kind of saying like that's a crazy take. It's not a crazy take, but I'm not on that bandwagon yet.
It does bear some note that Delaware was a successful FCS program. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of them this year. This is definitely not a game that you should take lightly. I don't think they took North Dakota State lightly last year, and obviously North Dakota State is a different tier at the FCS level. That is a team that would consistently compete at least the Group of 5 level, if not Power 5 level, year in, year out. Like, that is a really, really talented
They are
team.
the Alabama of the FCS.
Truly. Truly. Well, the Nick Saban Alabama. We won't talk about what Alabama is now.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, Sreyas.
But nevertheless, this was a very successful FCS program, and typically this is what it takes. Like, you're usually an FCS program that's near a big market. Delaware's not a big market, or you're an FCS program that's consistently good year in, year out, and you're looking for the next challenge. So I expect them to come at this game with a level of intensity, and maybe I even said this in the preseason. I expect them to come into this game with a level of intensity that maybe is surprising, because this is their first big matchup after having moved up to the next level here. And I expect them to throw the absolute kitchen sink at us. We're going to see some crazy play calls. They have nothing to lose here and everything to gain. So I do hope that it's not just a matter of taking them lightly, but we're ready and expecting the most insane trick plays and whatnot you've ever seen. So that's my one caution, but I think otherwise, based on the matchup, we should just win the line of scrimmage and dominate. And this is a great moment for the running game to step up and prove we're no longer the dead last in FBS running game that we were the last 2 years.
Yep. Yeah. Should we do score predictions?
Yeah, let's go around. Topher, go ahead. What you got?
Right now, looks like Colorado's coming in at a 23.5-point favorite. I don't think we cover this. I have us winning pretty big, but probably not quite that 23.5 cover. So give me the Buffs 42-21. I think the 21 is going to come in garbage time, though. So I think we're going to be up big.
Backdoor cover.
The last 21. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Give me 49-14. I think that whatever lessons we just took away from a really tough matchup are gonna be exemplified on the field here. The offense is gonna come out and feed mouths like we've been talking about. They have the ability to for a while, and the defense is gonna do plenty to stop that attack from Delaware. So 49-14 is what I got.
Man, Sreyas, great minds think alike. I think we're going to come close on this one again. I had a similar prediction in my head. I'm going, so the point total over unders at 49.5. I'm hitting that over. I'm going Buffs 45, Delaware 17. I think the Buffs are going to blow them out. And again, I think Juju's going to go off, and I think it's going to be a quarterback controversy, and it shouldn't be quite yet. I could be wrong. Maybe Juju has a better game than Caden. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going with that 45-17.
Yeah. And this is a big one, guys, because after this, Big 12 play begins, and it begins on the road against a really tough defensive team. So this is one that you got to no matter what you do. So I'm hoping that the team was able to see some of the positives that we talk about. I think there were lots of positives, and I did see lots of people acknowledging those positives, not just here on this podcast, but as a whole. I think that we have seen some positives, and we need to carry whatever positives there were and feel good before we hit that matchup that actually does have an impact on all of our goals, our bigger goals for the season. And if we backdoor this one and barely pull out victory from the jaws of defeat like we did against North Dakota State, albeit again North Dakota State, FBS killer, tough program. That's going to hurt the outlook going into Big 12 play. So this is a big game. Make no mistake. This is not a game that anyone should take lightly. We're one of the few programs that are playing an all FBS schedule. So this is the moment.
So I do have a question for you guys as we're looking ahead. I'm curious where your guys' panic meter is, for lack of a better word. And I don't want you to answer it kind of on a panic meter perspective, but based on your win predictions at the beginning of the season, Sreyas, I think you had 9 with a bowl win. So 8 with a bowl win, I should say. I was the same. I had 8 wins plus a bowl win, 9. Topher, you had 11, I think.
Yep.
Where are we at? Are we still holding fast with that prediction? Are we a little bit more worried? Are we bumping that down, or are we more confident? Where are you guys at? Either of you guys can start.
I guess I'll go first. So with where I'm at, I did predict the loss. It was tough to see that we lost even with a 3-0 turnover margin. That's always painful to see. And then to be beat so badly by their rushing attack definitely hurt. But that's a good – we've beat this to death now. But that Georgia Tech team is no joke. They did this to Georgia last year, right? a really, really elite Georgia program also got bullied and got taken to 8 overtimes by this Georgia Tech team. That said, it was a little bit discomforting in terms of how difficult our home schedule is, right? We have Iowa State. I mean, BYU, even though BYU doesn't have Retzlaff, it's still BYU with their same trench guys. I mean, it's a lot of the same trench guys that we just saw blow us out in the Alamo Bowl. So that's tough. Iowa State's tough. ASU's tough. I had all 3 of those as wins. That I feel a little bit more bearish about that. Like, I'm definitely concerned that those are like, I mean, you remember when we were talking about it, like, I can't believe I just picked this as a win. Now I'm like, oh man, it really doesn't feel like wins anymore. Like, not in all 3 of those. So I can stick with the 9 for now, but I'm feeling a little bit worse about it than I did on Friday, but not as bad as I would have if we just rolled over. Like, for reference, guys, while we're sitting here talking, TCU's beating North Carolina 48-14 at North Carolina in Bill Belichick's first game. If that's what happened, I would have been feeling way worse. But I think that we have the opportunity to turn things around. So I'm still feeling okay, but trending in the wrong direction. Topher, we're
in full panic mode for that 11-1 season. Like, this is not good.
You gave it all up. You gave it all up in one day.
Well, let's see. I was promised a playmaker that looked more refined than what Caden looked like. And granted, it's one game, and Georgia Tech's not a bad team, but like, I would need to see a little bit better play from him. I really need to see a lot better play from the defense. I think that's really where my prediction is just devastated, right? Is because this defense looked rough. And so I'm probably down 4 or 5 wins from my original prediction.
Wow. Yeah.
The defense is that questionable. And it's not like, again, it's not the fundamentals. It's not the physical talent. This is how we run fit. This is how we work together. This is how we stop teams together. And we need a leader on that defense. And until that emerges, I'm worried about the defensive production we're going to get.
Yeah. I predicted 8 wins with a bowl win, and I'm sticking with that. I'm feeling a little bit more bearish, for sure. But I predicated that on our O-line play, and they're about as good as I thought they'd be. Defensive line, the pass rush is about as good as I thought it would be. It's a solid pass rush. I'm hoping that the run defense can be coached. It's getting those run gaps in line. I think our linebackers are athletic. They got good east to west speed. We're definitely missing Levanta and Nakai. But with that being said, I'm still holding 8 wins. Feeling a little bit nervous about my win over Utah pick. I don't think that'll happen. But I told my dad this evening, actually, who's a big Iowa State fan, I'm like, Dad, I'm calling it now. CU beats Iowa State. Because Kansas State didn't look that great. I think we can match up against Iowa State physically. So I'm feeling okay about that game. And yeah, I'm feeling okay about 8 wins, but I'm definitely a little bit more bearish. But look, it's game 1. You're going to have these issues. So I'm hoping they fix it. But that's also predicated on Pat Shermer getting fired week 3.
Yeah.
I also feel very good about us beating K-State at Manhattan now after watching North Dakota hang with them and should have beat them.
North Dakota
should have beat them.
That's not North Dakota State.
That's the University of North Dakota.
Yeah.
UND.
So I feel really good about that pick.
Yeah.
I'll just sit there.
So, there's some give and take. The Big 12 does not look good this year. We did not do well in our non-conference.
No.
Other than the North Carolina game, hey.
Yeah, TCU's looking pretty good, but we have to play them on the road. Great.
Yeah.
They look
all
like
the
a
teams we thought would be good that aren't good, they don't look good. Did that make any sense? Probably not. But Baylor, we don't play Baylor. I thought Baylor's going to be really good.
They struggled. Yeah, they struggled against Auburn really bad.
Yeah.
Utah, I think Utah looks really good. I get that they haven't played. I mean, they played UCLA. UCLA's upstart. They're rebuilding. So I guess it's still a Power 5 win against a Big Ten team, but that's not a Power 5 win against a Big Ten team that you feel great about necessarily. But they were dominant. They absolutely pulverized UCLA like it was back in the Pac-12 or something. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes, and maybe we can continue to relitigate this every week. I feel like this is such a dynamic conference that we're in for one hell of a ride. Ain't that right, guys?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
And on that note, thank you for watching, everyone. Be sure to subscribe to us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. We're on all the platforms. So until next week, Go Buffs beat Delaware. Let's go.
Let's go, Buffs.
Go Buffs, baby.